Good afternoon, cadets. This is Lance here from Cinematic Galaxy, and I'm finally bringing you guys my review of Star Wars Rebels Season 3, the most up-to-date season of Rebels until Season 4 next week. Who else is jazzed for Season 4? I'm really excited for this. It's hard to believe that this show is finally coming to an end, and it's bittersweet because I want to see Dave Filoni get to finish his story, but at the same time, it's kind of sad that we're already so close to the end. But anyway, Season 3, getting back on topic. First things first, Thrawn was revealed canon at last year's celebration. I won't elaborate into that because you all kind of know that by now. Also, the interesting thing about Season 3 is that there's a time jump, and I think it's always cool when you can get a time jump in a series or in a movie series or whatever it is. It's about 6 months, and Ezra's hit puberty, man. He's got his growth spurt. He's grown about probably 7-8 inches. He's filled out some, and it's kind of neat seeing an older Ezra. And you see Sabine, she's rocking a new hairstyle. I think this one's probably my favorite, and it's a little more mature looking, and she's in there. And then Hera's pretty much the same. Zeb is a lot friendlier toward Ezra, for one thing. He has a lot more respect for him, and this friendship has been going on a while. And then you have Kanan Jarrus. Kanan is tormented at the beginning of this season because if you remember from the finale of Season 2, I have to spoil it here, Kanan was blinded by Maul. And it changed him. And it changed him forever. He is still suffering from, at the beginning, he's still suffering from the aftermath of that. And what that did for him, it really shook him, and he's having to find that peace within himself. So that's where we find these characters at the beginning. You see Ezra Bridger, actually, Hera's the leader of the Ghost Crew, but Ezra Bridger is the lead of the missions that they go on. And it's funny seeing Sabine and Zeb respecting Ezra as the leader of the mission, and seeing and being in awe of his well they're not really even in awe of his Jedi skills anymore because they're so used to it. I mean, Ezra has gotten very proficient with the with the Force and with his lightsaber skills and all that stuff. So that's fun to see right off the bat. And anyway, going into it, I was very excited for Season 3, and at the time I first saw it, I had not finished the Thrawn trilogy. I was still reading it, but I had an idea. I already kind of had a grasp on who this character was. So I was excited to see Thrawn. I think that, going into Season 3, what do I overall think of it? My first time seeing it, I really loved the opener, and I loved the first few episodes. Then I thought it kind of teetered with some mediocre episodes, but then by the end of it, I loved it again. Rewatching Season 3, I have to say that I love it. Yes, there's some bad episodes in Season 3, let's put it that way. There's some episodes toward the middle that are bad. One in particular called Iron Squadron that I'm thinking about. I'm just getting that out of the way right now because there's so much more I want to talk about than just this stuff. But yeah, aside from that, rewatching Season 3, I have to say, much like Seasons 1 and 2, I loved it more. Ultimately, I love this season. It might be my favorite. It's still not a clear-cut favorite for me between Seasons 2 and 3. Or even with 1. I love them all, and they each offer something different. What I will say for me with Season 3, just to kind of go into, again, the premise, kind of the opener, Ezra's leading the missions. He's also, if you remember the ending shot of Season 2, he opens the holocron because he feels that hatred in his heart from what happened to Kanan. So you're already going into this season where Ezra has hatred for Maul. He has vengeance for Maul because Maul used him. Maul manipulated him. And he wound up hurting his master and the person that he cares most about. And it's heartbreaking to see Ezra suffering the guilt from that. but also Kanan having to regain himself. It's inspiring, but it's also heartbreaking to see that. And seeing Maul. Maul is such a wretch, you know. But anyway, I'm gonna get kind of more into the critical thoughts. Yeah, Ezra. You know, the dark side. His flirtations with the dark side have been helping him on his missions, but they've been also doing something to him, and it's interesting to see what the repercussions are of that. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot in this season that what I'll say about season 3. It doesn't seem to have as much of a singular plot thread, but in some ways it really kind of does. What season 3 really is, it's more so the formation of the official Rebel Alliance. We see more pieces come into place. We see more characters from the original trilogy pop up that obviously are very important parts of the Rebel Alliance. And it's really great to see. And you kind of get some Rogue One threads here as well. I mean, it definitely feels like it's leading up to that and the Battle of Scarif and all that stuff. The Battle of Scarif does not feature in this season. It's not quite up to that yet, but it's leading up there. You see bits and pieces. Again, I don't really want to go into heavy spoilers here, but I think I'm going to have to for this season. I will talk about some spoilers, some key episodes, some key moments. So just letting you know right now, it's hard to do a review of season 3 this late in the game without discussing spoilers, because for this season, more so than the others, I feel like they're, like for those key episodes, they're important to discuss. So basically, with season 3, you get Ezra having to wrestle with the dark side a little bit. You get Kanan having to, and it happens fairly early on, Kanan having to come to terms with his blindness and learn to trust the Force truly more than he ever has. And I'm reading A New Dawn right now, and that's a very different Kanan from what we get in Rebels at all, let alone season 3. So seeing Kanan fully have to come to terms and embrace the Force, because how else would he see? How else would he fight? It's inspiring, and it cements Kanan as one of my favorite Star Wars characters of all time. What I want to say about this season, yes, Hera's great in this season. She gets a few moments to shine. She's the heart of the team. Sabine Wren in this season. This is Sabine's season. It gives her that character development that she really needed in the show for her to have more depth to her. It gives her depth, and her episode, Trials of the Darksaber, is one of my 2 favorite episodes, not just of Rebels, but of Star Wars animation in general. And there's one more that I'll touch on in a minute. But that episode was so great because you find out about her past and about her pain, about her family. And, you know, and you also, in that episode, see Kanan not second-guessing himself anymore as a teacher. You know, even though Sabine butts heads with him, Kanan has gotten to the point where he is confident in his ability to teach. And that is so great to see from season 1. He's not doubting himself anymore. He's doing it. Even though Hera, you know, questioned some of his decisions, Kanan pretty much sticks his ground, and that was so great. Great, masterful episode. Okay, so that leads me to discuss characters a little bit more. Like I said, I realize I haven't really discussed Thrawn much, and to be honest, it's because Thrawn doesn't do a whole lot in this season, and that was a big letdown for a lot of people. And initially for myself, I was kind of disappointed, but honestly, I think this season had enough to where you didn't have to have Thrawn doing a whole bunch of stuff. I thought he served his purpose, and, you know, without giving anything away, I think it's going to be worth it. I think that I think that his arc works. So, you know, so there's that. Governor Price, Arinda Price, who looks a lot like Cate Blanchett from Indiana Jones 4, is a character in this season, and she also appears in the Thrawn novel. I really like her as a villain. I think she's a great addition to the show. So that's cool. I loved her in the Thrawn novel, even though I'm not a huge fan of that novel. But that's that. Yeah, so the other episode that I have to talk about, and like I said, spoilers if you haven't finished the season, Twin Suns. Trials of the Darksaber and Twin Suns are neck and neck as my two favorite pieces of Star Wars animation to date, and two of my favorite pieces of Star Wars in general. Twin Suns features Obi-Wan Kenobi and his final standoff with Maul. Yes, final standoff, meaning Maul, this is the end game for him. I don't think it should be too much of a shocker that knowing that these two are facing off on Tatooine, Kenobi ends Maul. He ends him. And it's only because he has to, because he's protecting Luke. I rewatched this episode last night as I was finishing up the season, and my goodness, is this a great episode. The fact that it wasn't a full-out duel does not bother me in the slightest, because the storytelling there, the voice acting, the animation, all of that, the music, the tension, all of that is at its height in this episode and in those moments. That not only was a great episode for Maul and Kenobi, it was also a great episode for Ezra. And it kind of seems to be pulling him back to the light side just a little bit. So that was great to see. And again, Stephen Stanton, he voices Kenobi in that episode, and it's very Alec Guinness Obi-Wan. It is the Alec Guinness Obi-Wan. And then he also voices Admiral Raddus in Rogue One, and he voices Tarkin in Rebels. And he's a multi-talented guy. He also voices that droid, I believe, AP5. Very versatile, talented person. And his Kenobi is fantastic. It's so brilliant. And I could go on and on about this episode. I could talk about this episode in a review of its own. And I just might do that. So anyway, getting back to it, yeah, you have other characters like Agent Callus. Very interesting character, very interesting arc in this season. And there are some bad episodes here that I can't remember. Did I discuss them earlier? I might have. But the bad episodes, Iron Squadron, like I said, yeah, not a great episode. There's some others here and there, but all in all, the season is great in my opinion. I love Rebel Season 3. I think it might be my favorite so far, and I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Anyway, guys, let me know down below, how did you feel about Rebel Season 3? What's your favorite season of Rebels, and what's your favorite episode of Rebels to date? I've already said mine are Trials of the Darksaber and Twin Suns. Anyway, guys, thanks as always for watching. This is Lance from Cinematic Galaxy, signing off.